Hello and welcome to another insightful episode of The War of Worth. Our guest for today is Miss Sangeetha Param, author of four published books, four times TEDx speaker. She is here to share her journey through bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder. Before we get Sangeeta on to talk about her journey, I really want to thank her for being here. She is one of those brave hearts who has transformed her pain into purpose. By talking to people and spreading awareness on mental health challenges, she wants to break stigma around some of these topics. And she is here to talk to our viewers. Let's welcome Sangeeta. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Nisha, for this warm welcome. And I'm very glad that we could have this nice conversation together. I hope that it makes a small difference in their really amazing life.
It's really nice to see people opening up about these conditions, so to speak, because it's not easy when you're undergoing certain challenges to talk about
Correct.
them. But your journey has been inspirational. I had the honor of meeting you during your TEDx talk, and that inspired me to invite you to this podcast. So, why don't we begin with you giving our viewers a little more insight into what bipolar disorder is and what is borderline personality, if you can throw some light into
Yeah.
this?
So basically, in 2014, when I was 20 years old, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder when I decided to take my life. So it was a shock to everybody in the family because the 20-year-old girl who's the elder sibling, the first daughter, who's bubbly and all over the place and talking to everybody, suddenly wants to take her life. So I called my father and I told him that I'm done with this. And obviously, like all parents, they completely collapsed. They're like, we did everything for our daughter. We wanted them to have the best life. Like, where did we go wrong? My father's mother, like my paternal grandmother, was diagnosed with schizophrenia, postpartum depression. And my dad really did not have a normal mother growing up. But he took the decision that what he could not do for his mother, he will do for his daughter. And that's when the journey began with psychiatrists and psychologists and back to back sessions, which were initially
Therapies.
very, very overwhelming. Like everybody, all you know that when there's a mental illness, you go to a psychiatrist first. So that's like the basic knowledge of everyone. So
Hmm.
they did the same thing. They took me to a psychiatrist, and for every symptom I told him, for every problem I told, he had a big prescription pad and he just noted down medications after medications. And I was initially on 18 medicines per day, and that made me into a complete zombie. There were also psychologists who were asking what's going on, what's making you feel this way, what is going on, why, what, where. And then there were like so many questions thrown at me, and I was so exhausted after a while. So, like every physical ailment, we go for a second opinion. So, we went for second opinion and third opinion. And then I was exhausted by the end of like the fourth or fifth one, that it's the same thing again, a new prescription with the same medicines with different names. At the same time, my father comes to me and he says, let's just go meet another doctor. And I was so exhausted. I've said, no, I'm not coming, but I will only come under one condition, that you will talk. I'm not going to speak a word. I'm not
Hmm.
going to be repeating this story over and over again. Only if you talk, I will come.
Hmm.
And my dad comes and then he takes me, and then it's a quiet conversation in the car. And then we go to the psychologist and we sit in his room, and my father gives the whole introduction. And my psychologist asked my father to leave the room. And I was like, here we go again. At
Hmm.
that point of time, I kept my word and I kept quiet. My psychologist was a man who was sitting about like 6 feet ahead of me. And he just asked me one question: were you sexually abused? And I was taken aback. And I'm like, how did you get to know? You were the first person to ask me a question which I have kept
Nobody
a
asked.
secret
Hmm.
for 20 years. And with
Hmm.
just a few of my body movement and whatever it was, and I started asking him questions like, how did you figure that out? He said, your body language. The minute your father left the room, you were completely uncomfortable to be in a room alone with another man, and your body language completely changed, and that's what caught my eye. So like how we all hope to meet the soulmate of our lives, and he was my soulmate when it came to my psychologist. We went through a few number of tests, and he diagnosed me for bipolar disorder and borderline personality disorder. And on the day I got diagnosed, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Yeah, I know a lot of people think that when you get diagnosed, you're like, why me? What did I do? Yeah, I do get those thoughts. But finally, there was a reason to what I was feeling. There's an explanation to it. There are people doing research on it. There are like other people who suffer through the same thing.
Yeah.
And I was not alone, and I was not making it up all in my head like what I thought I was. So what is bipolar disorder and what is borderline personality disorder? So bipolar disorder is the disorder of the brain Borderline personality disorder is the disorder of the mind. So these are completely two different things in the same place in our heads. So bipolar disorder is where one person has extreme mood swings. So your hormones are produced in a haphazard manner, and you tend to either go to mania or you tend to go to depression. And it's always like a wave. You're either on a high or on a low. It's like a wave that passes through life. So that's how the hormones play in the mind, for which you need medication so that they are, the sea is calm, not to let the storm, wake up the sea. So you need psychiatric medications for it, because the way a person's hormone reacts in their head, it differs from person to person. So there's a lot of trial and error of medications that we have to go through to find the right combination to keep us stable, where we able to handle our episodes as well as we don't lose ourselves completely in those episodes. When it comes to borderline personality disorder, it is that of the personality which is caused because of environmental factors of so many things. So I was bullied as a young girl, and that created that, like, started the seed of insecure, being very insecure, being
Mm.
afraid of, like, I don't love myself even today, but that feeling of not being good enough, and that led me to be a people pleaser, because being bullied, you feel like, oh my god, like that person has to like me, so
Yeah.
I will give my life for them. So that started
Yeah.
the people pleaser behavior, the fear of abandonment, that nobody should leave me and go. And my dad was diagnosed with cancer when I was very young. I lost my innocence. Like, I was like, okay, death comes knocking at any time. My priorities in life changed from watching Pokemon and to having to take care of my younger sister, having to iron our uniforms and pack our lunch. And so, I grew up way before than I should. Like, my childhood was like not as normal. These are small factors which I did not realize would affect my personality later. At
Mm.
that point of time, yeah, I was a pro child. I took care of everything, I handled everything, but I did not realize that it ate up my emotional strength. Like, my I was doing things physically, but then eventually it started eating me up, because I became exhausted, I became tired, I felt so much pain all of a sudden emotionally. At the same time, that was a time I was abused by my grandfather when my dad was in the hospital. So at the age of 11, I'm thinking, what is more important, the sexual assault or my dad being on the deathbed? And that's when I started keeping it a secret, that I'm going to keep quiet about it, and I deserve it. It's because I'm being punished for the things I did to hurt my friends or whatever it is. Started, beating myself up over and over again, and I started blaming myself that these are the things happening to me because I deserve to be punished. So all these kind of personality issue, fear of abandonment, self-harm. I started self-harming when I was very young as a teenager, where I used to just cut myself because it used to make me feel better, because I could understand where the pain was coming from, because I did not know what emotional pain meant. So self-harm, inferiority complex, the need to have to always be the best to somebody, like you sacrifice your own self for somebody who just might be using you or might have just been an acquaintance. You
Yeah.
consider every single acquaintance as your best friend. You
Yeah.
end up being clingy, and they tend to leave because you get overly
Okay.
emotionally
Yeah.
attached to them, where we don't know how to draw boundaries. So all these things come under personality. The problem with the personality issue thing is, there's no medicine to make you feel good. There's no medicine to tell you it's okay, don't self-harm, you'll feel better later. There's no medicine to tell you that those people who are talking, they're not talking about you, but they might be talking something else to curb the anxiety. There's no medicine to convince myself that, okay, that this is not about me, that it might be
Mm.
something else. So that's where therapy comes in,
Mm.
where you talk about it, where there are different kinds of therapy involved, where you share what is going on, that now I'm able to draw my boundary and I'm able to identify acquaintance to friendship. So all these things came through years of therapy, because 20 years of trauma, 20 years of all these misconceptions that I have brought onto myself are slowly now falling in place through therapy.
Mm.
So now when it comes to bipolar and BPD, they are two different illnesses, and I am one person who's affected by it. So there
Mm.
are times where I'm unable to identify whether the depression is due to bipolar or whether the depression is due to BPD. So
Mm.
that is where the clash comes in. So it took me years to understand, like, what is what, like what is the reason that is triggering me. Like, for example, if there's a trigger, or there is a change in environment, or something that happened, a friend stopped talking, or whatever it is,
Mm.
that is not because of my BPD, that is because of my bipolar. So depression is the same, the pain is the same, but having to identify whether it is from which illness, is it the brain or is it the mind? That took me a lot of time to identify, and I'm still finding it difficult, but I think it took me a lot of time to identify between the two. So it's very important for people to know whether they are depressed or whether they are sad, because they are two very, very important things that you need to learn to identify. Because in this day and age, the word depression is just thrown around
Overly used. Yeah, yeah.
it's used for everything, like for everything. Oh my God, I could not attend a movie on the first show on the first day. I'm so depressed. At the same time, the person who's literally thinking about taking their life, they are depressed, but they wash off depression for such small reasons that the people who are actually depressed are unable to express and feel and be able to understand that their feelings do matter. So I'm diagnosed with bipolar type 2, where depression is much more, affected. Like, my episodes of depression last more than my episodes of mania. Type
Mm.
1 bipolar is the other way around. Mania lasts more compared to depression. So
Mm.
during depression, I completely shut off. My social life is zero. It's difficult to get out of bed. It's difficult, every small thing, even brushing my teeth, or like, just getting up from bed to even reach out to my phone, it feels like a huge task.
Of course.
And there are times, and over these 10 years, I've attempted suicide many a times. It's not that with diagnosis, psychiatric intervention and psychological intervention will fix you. I accept the fact that this BPD and bipolar is going to be a part of my whole life. But
Mm.
there will be slips, there will be pain. And I am slowly accepting that it is not my fault, that I have got this. And that's why I decided to use my journey to help somebody else. I know I will feel pain. I know I will still have my episodes, but when I'm a little better, when the sea is calm, I really wish that I can help somebody else identify that they are depressed and they are not just sad. And when people tell them to just move on and let it go, it's okay if they're unable to move on and let go. That means they need to seek help. So helping identify between depression and sadness. And very, very important thing, which I really want to tell every viewer, please do not Google if you are depressed or you're sad, because there are tens and thousands of tests that you can, you have these anxiety tests, you have these picture tests right now, which will just appear on your reels and your algorithm, whether it's your picture test or whatever. Please do not go through the test and diagnose yourselves to be whatever the test results show you, you're 90% depressed. Please do not go through that, because the psychological evaluation of a professional does and that Google or Chat GPT does are two completely different things. So that is one thing I really, really request all of you to please not self-diagnose.
That's a very,
Yeah.
very important tip.
Yeah.
Um, because I have done that for myself, and you may know this. Because I've had a similar journey. I mean, my struggles were not as complicated or difficult like yours, but I've struggled with body shaming, with abuse, and with abandonment, and a lot of these, which eventually led to me having a lot of body image issues. And everything that I felt, I could not put a word to it, and that was actually psyching me out. And I went to research. I had gone through multiple scientific journals and done a lot of research, and then came to a conclusion that this is body dysmorphia. And I actually gave a talk on that. But again, it was not diagnosed by somebody else. It was a self-diagnosis. Now, with you telling this, I'm actually thinking, is there a need for a further diagnosis for me? I don't know that. But then the moment I understood that there is something that I can label it, there is
Mm-hmm.
so much relief in the own head that
Correct.
I was not imagining it. It was not, a figment of my imagination. Everything that I was feeling was real. Otherwise, when you're
Correct.
talking to family or friends, there is a tendency that they will tell you, this is nothing, you're just imagining things. So you're just,
Mm.
so it was such a relief for me the day I discovered a word for what I was feeling. So
Yeah, I relate to you, but there's one thing I want you to correct from now on your statement is that my pain and your pain are different, and your pain matters too. You cannot compare two people's pain, and your pain matters. It's neither less nor more compared to somebody else, because what you go through, only you know how difficult it was for you, how much you have struggled with it. That pain only you will know. Comparing it to my pain doesn't make it less or more. So it's your pain, and you need to be proud of yourself that it's you came out through it, you're coming out through it, and you're doing well, and you're helping people out of it. So that's something which is very, very important to address, is that people just say that it's easy. It's easy, what is the big deal? I also feel sad, I also feel depressed. I mean, you take so much time, I take only 5 minutes, you take 5 days. But that's not it. My pain, only I know how painful it is. I cannot look at you and say that, oh, your pain is easy, my pain is like, what are you doing? I've come out of it, you can't. Trust me, your pain matters. Please never ever compare yourself to somebody else, whether it is less or more or whatever it is, because only you know the intensity of the pain and how much it affects you. So
thank you
that's
for
one
saying
thing I
that.
want you to stop doing.
Thank you for saying that. The thing is, see, the society is such that, and even people around you, there is always a construct of normality, right? Everybody wants you to be normal. Everybody wants you to be happy. Why? I mean, are we not allowed to sit with the darkness? I sometimes feel like, in those moments when I am like unhappy, or when I'm sitting in that mood where I'm thinking, or when I'm in my darkest, is when I'm the wisest also. I have
Yeah,
realized this. Because when you're happy and jumping around like a clown, there is very little wisdom there. I mean, of course, there is happiness based on what
I
people
think there's
call
very
happy.
less mindfulness there.
Correct, correct. And when you're sitting with some parts of you which you have to acknowledge, I see a lot of wisdom coming in terms of, drawing boundaries that came from my darkest periods. I wouldn't have
Correct,
drawn boundaries otherwise, right?
correct.
For me to understand that I don't need to please people, I had to go through this journey to
Yeah,
realize,
so it's like the pain made us realize where we are going wrong, and
correct,
it's making us be better people, because the thing is, we don't want to go through that pain again. That's like, so let's just not do it. I think, but we do make the same mistakes again. I mean, I am
yeah,
so pro, like they say, no, you'll only learn once you make that mistake. Same mistake I've made 10 times. Okay, I didn't learn, I was not mindful at that point of time, but now I started realizing those mistakes are affecting only me, nobody else. The
true.
person who's taking advantage of it, they are taken advantage and moved on in their life. I'm the one who's staying back and feeling all the pain and trauma.
Mm. So a lot of my friends now, when they look at my videos or when they see me talking in a public platform, they're like, "ये हमको पता नहीं था. Are you making this up?"
Yeah. Oh my God. Yes.
I'm
Yes.
like, "Why would I make something up?" Right?
And
I mean,
another thing is, you put a happy picture, and then 5 minutes later, if you put a something saying that I'm going through pain, they'll be like, 5 minutes back you were happy, and now all of a sudden you're depressed. How is that possible? I'm like, that's the whole point why I have a mental illness and you don't.
and my whole purpose of starting this podcast series was to capture stories like this. When I started War of Words, it was more in terms of telling people that the real war is not with the outer world. The real war is inside, right? It
Within.
starts within and it ends within. And everything happens
Correct.
on the outside is a reflection of your inner world. And for
Correct.
that to remain calm, we need to be grounded and we need to find something, right?
We
And
need
that
to know
purpose,
where to let the society hit us and where to
yeah.
let them go.
Yeah, for me, I also figured, right, like how you have transformed your journey now, when you found a purpose, when you started, writing books and sharing your story in safe places and converting that into a more purposeful journey, it kind of gives more meaning to your life. And I think that has also helped me calm down a bit in terms of what I want to do. And I just
Yay, I'm
wanted to
so proud of
mention
you.
that.
I'm really
So
proud of
virtual high
you.
five.
Yeah, virtual high five.
Now, coming back to you, how do you recharge yourself? Like, what do you do in those moments when, besides your therapy and everything else, what keeps you going? What are some practices or techniques or tips you would want to give the viewers?
First things first, I grieve. I let myself grieve. I feel sad. I let myself cry. I let myself feel angry. I let myself feel all the negative emotions because, when you build up, the explosion happened for me because I built it up. I built it up. I built all the hatred. I built all the pain, and I built it that it exploded out of my control. So now I grieve. I let myself cry about it. I let myself feel sad about it, and that itself is a process, because when you grieve, you know that okay, this is something I did wrong, and this is where I can get better. Like you told, no, when you're on your
Mm,
own, when you're feeling that pain, you're able to identify where you went wrong or what can you do to feel better. Nowadays people don't grieve. They're just like, let
mm,
me just get back and snap myself back together and let's speak. I'm perfect. Like I failed in an exam, but next time I will try very very hard. But nobody feels sad about it anymore. Like it's okay to grieve, it's okay to feel bad. So first thing I remember is to cry it out, to feel angry, to just. But the worst part is you want to cry, but you're not able to cry. Like the tears
mm,
are right there, but it's just not falling off.
mm,
That is one thing which I make sure that I try to is to just express. That is one way of expressing crying and shouting into a pillow. But another very important way of expression where I deal with my anxiety
mm,
is writing. Like
mm,
writing helps a lot, because the main reason I feel anxiety is related to the two words what if. So what if they're talking about me? What if this goes wrong? What if I fail? What if I don't fail? What if this happens? What if that happens? So every word or everything that starts after a what if is a reason for anxiety. So what I do is I write down all the what ifs. I write down all the racing thoughts, everything, because thoughts come in like the movies where they show war, where they show arrows like just thrown towards you. The same way are the thoughts. They just get thrown all over the place, and it's such a chaos in your head. Sometimes I just sit and just scribble it down. If I'm a little more organized, I write down the thought, and then after I try to identify which are the rational thoughts, which are the irrational thoughts, which are the thoughts I have control over or towards the decision or towards the end result, which I don't. There are certain things I have no control over. For example, my friend, like say, like I work, so in my office environment, there are like three people who go into the manager's cabin. The first thing that hits me is, where did I go wrong? Did I make a mistake? Like, I
mm,
become very very observant. Like I'll keep my phone aside, whether they're looking at me, that I'm texting all the time, are they talking about me, are they doing
mm,
something. So to counter these thoughts or to counter these questions, I also give them answers. Like even if they're talking about me and even if I made a mistake, so what? Okay, if I made a mistake, I can correct it. If it is an uncorrectable mistake, they're not going to fire me from the job, but I'll find a solution and make sure I don't make a mistake again. And even
mm,
if they're talking about me, have I made any mistake recently? No. Even what is a big deal if they talk about me? It's okay, right? Like if it's something very important or is something a big grave thing, they will call me and talk to me about it rather than talking to me behind my back right in front of me. When you're able to give a rational answer, you know that the thought is valid. So when you start identifying things you have control over and you have answers, initially out of 100 questions, maybe you'll have only two questions where you have a rational answer. But
mm,
after a few days, maybe you'll have three. So that is a success. From two, I went to three. So one, that is a success. One, growth doesn't happen overnight. Like it took me
correct.
10
Mm,
years to get me where I am today. I have had deep downfalls. Like to be very honest, and Nisha has been so sensitive towards me that she's like, if you're okay to talk about it, I know she's trying very hard to share the story, but she's also keeping in mind about my mental health, whether I am okay to share about it. She knows I'm good to share my story, but am I mentally okay to share about it? Is what she was sensitive enough to ask, which is what a lot of people lack. Like a lot of people do not care what the other person is going through as long as they get what they want. But Nisha took the effort to ask me if I was okay to talk about it, whether I am dealing with something difficult today that I'm not able to take this call. Because many people get offended if I just tell them that I'm not doing okay, so I can't do it today. People assume it to be lazy. People assume it to be like, she's just trying to find a reason not to do something. She's just trying to brush it under the carpet, but they don't realize that it is so difficult to even have to message and say, I'm sorry, I'm not able to come through it. And the guilt, it's not just about not being able to do the guilt I carry, that
I
she's
hear you.
trying so hard, but I'm not able to do it. It's all my fault. So it's a huge roller coaster of things. My main thing is just write it down, write. It helps a lot because typing is easy. Typing on WhatsApp,
Yeah.
typing notes is easy. Keeping a Excel sheet and typing is easy, but when you actually sit down and write, you have to even think about the spelling because there's no autocorrect. If you have to write experience, you need to know the spelling correctly. So when you sit and think and you have to write it down, it slows you down. Typing, we do a lot. We do a lot of sending essays when we have to break up or when we're having emotions. We just type. But nobody has the patience to sit back and write down. So I think the biggest strength that I have right now when it comes to coping is just writing. Just keep writing. It need not be like a daily journal, a gratitude journal, because when you say things like that, it's very overwhelming because you'll do it for 2 days and stop. It's like taking a New Year resolution. There's no pressure that you have to write every single day. Put a date on that day. If you wrote on 1st January and today you're writing on 21st April, it's okay. But you chose to write today and you try to help yourself. That's what matters.
That's so awesome. I mean, some of the things you actually mentioned, like, progress over perfection, that's more important because we always look at ourselves and say, okay, just चीजों में art नहीं किया. But we're not looking at the two things that got completed, right? Given a lot of points for me and also for the viewers to think about in terms of how we can
Yeah.
make our lives much more simpler. It's so nice to hear you talk about this because May is also a month of mental health awareness. So, you coming to our podcast to actually share your journey, I'm actually grateful for you for doing this for us.
Oh my God, thank you so much. It's such an honor to, be a part of this, to be the part of the first season. So I'm very excited about it as well.
And I'm keen on picking stories that need to be told, and yours was definitely one of them because
Thank you so much.
if we have to look at when I look at world and the way we are progressing with so much of digital intervention and there's so much happening. I
Correct.
think the world lacks connection
Correct.
somewhere, right? Because
Correct.
we're so
Yeah.
much into our gadgets. Everything is so siloed, like solo words, right? We are happy in our own islands. Last year in December we had traveled to Dubai, and that's what actually hit me really hard. There's this museum of the future, and they are actually showing
Yeah.
a sauna where people are sitting together and just holding their hands. And I'm like, is this how world is going
Bro,
to be in
I know,
2070?
I know, I've
Where
been there as well. Oh my God. Yeah, that blew my mind too.
Yeah, and I was like, अगर सिर्फ किसी का touch के लिए, like you have to sauna and hold somebody's hand,
Correct.
where is humankind moving, right? I don't know.
Yeah. Like the thing is, we have forgotten our handwriting. My sister tells me, why do you have to write down things to do? Why can't you just put it on your notes? I'm like, bro, there's a whole different feel to write and then scratch out the thing that you did. Even the touch of a fingertip to a pen and to
Correct.
a paper
And it is
itself,
difficult. It is
it's
difficult
very
actually.
difficult.
Because I tried doing that. I can type for hours because as an author, it comes so naturally, right? Like you've
Yeah.
authored 4 books. I've authored 4 books. So writing is a natural thing. But sitting and putting pen to the paper is difficult, like you said.
It's very difficult.
I
And
struggle
and the
with it.
best part out of all this is we wrote 3-page essays in our schools.
Yeah.
I think we have to bring back letter writing. I think you can start with writing letters to your future self.
Or
Yeah.
the person you want to be, right?
Or speaking even to your inner child.
So I've recently started this, which is actually calming me a lot. I walk on grass once in
Hmm.
a while. And see, for me, one of the things I struggle with is consistency. If I do it,
Yeah.
I may not do it every day. I
Correct.
I suck at consistency. आज कर लिया फिर I may not do it for a week, 10 days, एक
Correct.
month बाद. But someday I will go back
It's
for
like
it. But
taking the gym membership always.
gym memberships to waste है मेरे लिए. So I've
Yeah,
stopped
that's
doing
what
this.
it's like. We'll take the yes, we'll buy clothes, we'll go for gym, we'll do workout 2 days, we'll do, and
कुछ
then I'm
नहीं
like,
होगा.
thank you very much.
Hmm.
And then I'll get motivated to do again exactly when the membership expires.
Expired. I can so relate to this. But then that walking on the grass where you're walking on it, the nature, the
Feel
earth, the
the
water, it has started calming me. So
that's That's really good. I'm really happy for you for that. And I
Yeah,
think it's also about observing small little things that we tend to miss noticing.
ignore.
For example, in Bangalore, traffic is a lot. So all of us are like spending either on like attending a phone call regarding like call or whatever it is, but we don't look outside. We don't see that maybe there's a color of the
Yeah, yeah.
sky
Right.
and small little things. Also, it can be like how people make pani puri. Small little
True.
things that matter.
True. I think we've pretty much covered a lot of stuff in today's episode.
So, my main message to everybody here is please do not forget the power of your smile. Your smile is like your biggest strength, which is the biggest gift given to you by God. Like they have so many beauty standards, and whatever it is all over the world, it's a smile that beats everything. There's no beauty standard for a smile. The curve is the best thing you own, and the biggest achievement that you can use with that is be the reason for your own smile. So when you look at yourself in the mirror, please do not judge yourself. Like how Nisha said, her reason could be for her smile was when she felt the grass tickle under her feet. She felt the dew on the grass. That made her smile. So be the reason for your smile. And I think that is the biggest strength that you can have. And that's all that I want to say. And I hope that this helps you guys. Or if you want to do reach out, I think Nisha will definitely be able to provide you with our credentials so that you can reach out with any of us anytime you want. This is going to be a safe space, and we are people with our safety harness waiting to save others who are going through the same thing.
Thank you so much, Sangeeta, for saying that. Would you also want to talk about your books? You tell them what books you've
Yes,
written in
yes.
case somebody
So I've
wants to.
written
Yeah.
basically two books. It's called Key to Acceptance and Echoes in Your Attic. My stories are all up like essays and poems and stuff like that, like on small things like trees or birds or whatever it is. And people ask me, why don't you write about sunshine? Why don't you write about happiness? So I told them, like, when you go like to a library or you go to a bookstore, you have just a column of self-help books. Okay, how to be motivated, how to grow thin, how to grow fat, how to be successful, how to smile, how to be stay happy. There is a lot of how to, but there's not of I know what it feels like to books. So that's why I wrote those books, so that when anyone picks up and opens a page and they read and they're like, okay, there's another human being and not chat GPT who feels the same way. There's another person who's actually alive, who's actually felt each and everything I felt. Because like Nisha shared, pain is something like what I have undergone. Nisha can relate to that pain. When it comes to body shaming, how I feel, only she will be able to understand what it feels like to go on a roadside shopping and not find clothes our size only because we are our size. And there's just only one particular XL which is generalized that there are people only of that size. It's okay to feel bad. It's okay to feel sad. Live example, we both are here and you can reach out to us in no matter what you're feeling. We are going to be the judgmental free space. I hope this conversation inspires you if you're suffering to seek help, and if you see someone else suffering, to help them also seek help without any judgment. So moral of today's story, it's okay to not be okay.
And what a way to end this episode on a very high note. There will be highs, there will be lows, but the
Yeah,
fact that alive, we are kicking, we should also remember that we are here for a purpose. Each one of us, we've
yeah,
come for a reason. And the moment we realize that life is a much bigger game, everything
correct.
changes within. And the moment
Correct.
everything changes within, the outer world will also naturally change.
Because it's all about perspective. They might be the
Absolutely.
same, but the way we look at them, we just have to change our lens.
TEDx happened for me in December 2024. In 4 months, I see a huge change in me. And this has happened only because of having the courage to stand up and tell my story. And everything started changing until then.
Changing
I
after
had
that.
not, I was writing fiction, I was doing a lot of things. But the moment you own your story, you become your authentic self, everything is changing.
You
When I
are more
stand,
aware of yourself. You know what
yeah.
is happening. It helps you work on yourself much better.
And for me, someone who's been my own antagonist, I had trouble standing in front of the mirror. I
Yeah,
was somebody
same.
who did not look at the mirror. For me to be even doing this episodes where I have to look at my own face,
Yeah, oh my God, I'm doing the exact same thing. I'm just looking at you and looking at myself. I'm like, oh my God, my like I'm dark all over here. My kajal is smudged.
so
That
is the moment you have compassion for yourself, like if you're able to put a distance, small distance between you as a human being and you as an observer, it will change everything. I've started doing this, and thankfully, for the last 2 months, I have not felt anything, and there is no shame when I stand in front of the mirror.
And I think this is my lesson with you today, that I have to add compassion to my ingredients to get better. So I will take your word on this and I will really start trying today. So thank you so much.
It was lovely chatting with you, Sangeeta. Have a great life ahead,
Thank
and
you.
we
And I'll see you soon as well. Thank you so much. I hope you have a great day ahead.
thank
Thank
you.